The Tasmanian Midlands are one of Australia's most important biodiversity hotspots. It's an area rich in species found nowhere else. It's also an ecosystem under threat. The Midlands temperate grasslands are one of the most threatened ecosystems in the world. For 10 years, the Tasmanian Land Conservancy, Bush Heritage Australia and farmers have been working together to protect this unique place.
The Midlands is a really diverse area. Even when you look at the ground cover, there's often hundreds of species that occur there. Things that are found only in Tasmania, in some cases only restricted to the Midlands.
32 of the plants and animals in the Midlands are listed as nationally threatened.
We do have a lot of native animals, which is nice to see. We like to see the wildlife, and we look on those areas fondly and look after them.
The Midlands is a stronghold for a lot of native marsupial species, so the Tasmanian bettong, the eastern barred bandicoot and the Tasmanian devil. These species have been pushed to the brink on the mainland or extinct on the mainland, and so require a huge amount of resources to reintroduce them. In Tasmania, we can prevent this from happening by simply better managing those remnant areas.
Before white settlement, the Midlands was characterised by rolling hills of dense forest that opened up to more sparsely wooded country and a mosaic of grasslands and wetlands that filled the floors of the valleys. It was a landscape maintained by traditional burning regimes of its Aboriginal custodians. When settlers arrived, they set up sheep grazing estates on native pastures, a form of farming that for many decades left the native ecosystems relatively intact. But farming has changed, and introduced pastures and intensive cropping are replacing native grasslands and woodlands. Only 5% of the biodiversity hotspot is protected in national parks and public reserves.
Here, especially with a lot of the bush and native country we've got here, a lot of the threat to this country has been from invasive species such as gorse, particularly here, and gorse has been encroaching into a lot of the bushland.
There are significant areas of intact native vegetation that are part of productive farm.
So the MCF was started by farmers and conservation organisations coming together, looking for a way that we could develop a program that endured through time. And for me, that's one of the great successes. 10 years on, the program still exists. We've got farmers re-signing, recommitting to their stewardship agreements. Back in the day, we didn't think farmers would continue. We thought maybe they'll do it once, maybe they'll do it twice. But we're now seeing different generations. We're seeing more interest. We're seeing the importance of these places on these properties. They're critical to the longevity of the properties, but they're also critical to show that nature in Tasmania is so important from a commercial perspective, but also from an ecological perspective.
The program has established long-term protection and management of 2,500 hectares of critically endangered lowland native grasslands, as well as 5,000 hectares of associated woodlands and wetlands. It's a program that benefits the Midlands ecosystems, but also benefits the farmers caring for their land.
We're working the animal management with the grasslands management, so it's a neat fit, and the combination of the two is the product that Kingston produces, and we're getting a bit of a name for that. But it is fantastic to be able to produce the wool from this country, and quite honestly, the sheep actually do better. They have a better range, a more diverse range of grass and other things to eat. And they just seem healthier running in the bush than they do on paddocks.
Thinking back 10 years ago, I guess Tasmania was a small island off an island. When you look at Tasmania now, it's pretty easy to travel around Australia and to see Tasmania up in lights. It's fantastic to see suits, garments, fashion, all coming from the Tasmanian Midlands. To see the amazing products that are produced from the farms that we work. Gives us real hope that you can see that actually protecting nature, conserving nature, working with nature is critical to ensure that the places that make Tasmania so special, whether it's in those garments or in the wild places that we work to protect, remain for future generations.
This partnership to conserve Midlands biodiversity has been operating for 10 years. Over that time, landowners have been controlling weeds and reducing grazing where necessary. As a result, these areas have seen an increase in native species and in species richness.
We have quite a variation of species through the MCF areas we have here, but where we are here is black peppermint on ironstone, which is dry heath forests, and there's lots of great orchids and heaths and things through this area.
The monitoring is showing that we're heading in the right direction, we're getting positive outcomes there, and that feeds back to the landowners so they're better able to manage the areas of land that they've got under these agreements.
The MCF means so much to so many people. So many people have worked decades before the MCF even existed to protect these places, to manage them, to connect to them. And it is a real privilege to have the opportunity to work alongside farmers, conservationists and people that care deeply for this landscape. Because if we don't care for it, it will be gone.